The Vietnam War is one of the most discussed conflicts in modern history, but there's one question that many still struggle to answer. Why didn't the United States invade North Vietnam? If the North was the enemy, why did the U.S. only focus on the South? It's an intriguing question, especially when you consider that the U.S. poured so much time, effort, and resources into the conflict. So what stopped them from taking that extra step to directly invade North Vietnam? Let's break it down. To understand why the U.S. didn't invade North Vietnam, we first need to take a step back in time. Vietnam, once part of French Indochina, gained its independence after World War II, but the country found itself divided into two: North Vietnam, a communist state, and South Vietnam, which was anti-communist. The Cold War context made things even more complicated. With the Soviet Union backing the North and the United States backing the South, it was more than just a civil war. It was a proxy battle between the world's two superpowers. But here's the thing. The U.S. didn't want to escalate things by going into North Vietnam. Why? The first big reason was China. The U.S. military and government remembered the Korean War all too well. When U.S. forces pushed into North Korea and got too close to the Chinese border, Beijing stepped in to help their communist neighbors. The fear was that if the U.S. invaded North Vietnam, China would get directly involved again, and this time things could get out of control fast. By this point, China had also fallen out with the USSR, making their threats much more serious. Washington knew that pushing too far into Vietnam could lead to an even bigger war, and no one wanted that. Another major reason was the concept of the domino theory. The idea was that if one country fell to communism, its neighbors would likely follow. The United States didn't want to be seen as directly attacking a communist state like North Vietnam because it would set a dangerous precedent. If communist countries started to feel threatened just by their existence, they could call on the Soviet Union or China for nuclear protection. That could have led to even bigger consequences, and Washington knew it. Despite these risks, the United States, didn't give up on the idea of stopping communism. The strategy was to focus on fighting the North within the borders of South Vietnam, trying to keep the South from falling completely. However, there was no real belief that communism could be eradicated from the North. In fact, many in both the North and South associated the end of French colonial rule with the rise of communist resistance. The United States government and military were also divided on the issue, with some advocating for more aggressive action while others warned about the consequences. But here's the catch. Despite the risks and challenges, America couldn't pull out. They couldn't risk looking weak and abandoning an ally, especially when the spread of communism seemed like a looming threat. The situation felt like a trap: stay involved and risk escalating things further, or withdraw and accept defeat. In 1973, the United States finally signed an agreement with North Vietnam, officially withdrawing from the war. It was a hard decision, and in 1975 the North launched another invasion, ultimately reunifying Vietnam under a communist government. But the truth is, the United States never truly had a way to win the war as it was being fought. The cost, both in human lives and resources, was too high. So why didn't the United States invade North Vietnam? The simple answer is that doing so would have risked a much larger conflict with China, potentially even nuclear war. In the end, the United States chose to contain the spread of communism without risking the domino effect that could have spiraled into something far more dangerous. It's a decision that shaped the course of the Cold War and left Vietnam with a complicated legacy.